Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the 34th edition of Sports and Religion TV. I'm your host, William Ramo, and I want to thank you guys for checking out this episode. On today's episode, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the Mets offseason so far and what possible moves I think they should do to make them be able to compete with the rest of the teams in the NL East and, God willing, maybe even the World Series. But before we get a little ahead of ourselves, if you like this video, please feel free to like it, share it, comment on it, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified for future episodes. With that said, let me give you my thoughts about the Mets offseason. Well, it's basically, I like the moves the Mets have made so far. It's not as great as the other teams in the NL East because the NL East is really tough right now. I mean, the Nationals won the World Series in October. They locked up Steven Strasburg as they should have. Gave him that amazing contract extension. Well, even though he was a free agent, I guess they re-signed him because he did reach free agency. And sure, they let Rendon go, but their GM Mike Rizzo, he's gonna try to get them to defend their title. They lost Rendon, but they're rumored to try to go after Donaldson and other players. So hey, you never even know. Even Todd Frazier, they're gonna try to bolster that team. Moustakas would have been a great signing for them, but he signed a 4-year deal with Red. So basically, the Nationals, they're the team to beat. The Phillies, man, that team, they made the noise. They're doing the moves that I wanted the Mets to do. I wanted them to sign Girardi. The Phillies got Girardi. Didi Gregorius, he has that. He's been in that winning culture with the Yankees for the past couple of years. Replacing Derek Jeter ever since he retired years ago. He's gonna be a good fit for them. Not to mention they traded for JT Realmuto, earlier this year before the season started. So they got a good young nucleus. They traded for McCutchen. If McCutchen could stay healthy and bounce back, that could be that team's a tough, gritty team right there. Phillies, of course, you got the Braves. Not to mention Phillies, they signed Wheeler. They're making moves, man. The Phillies, they're tough, and then of course the Braves won the division. And you can never count the Braves out, man. That organization is always, they're always doing things, man. Ever since the '90s, they got that title in '95, but they're always in the running for the playoffs, and you can never count that team out. The Mets, man, they need to step up their game, man. And I mean, to their credit, they have done some good moves. I like the moves that they've done. I love the recent Dellin Betances signing, man. They needed to do that. They needed to do, because other than re-signing Brad Brock, who was phenomenal at this past season, they didn't do any major bullpen moves. And Dellin Betances was the guy I was zeroing in on from the beginning, because this guy, he's from New York. Obviously, he played his entire career with the Yankees. He had a phenomenal career with the Yankees as a setup guy and an occasional closer. He did pitch 2 games. Actually, one game this past season in September. Struck out the only 2 guys he faced, but then he injured himself again. So that's the risk you get for signing him. But this guy is electric. He got the guts to pitch in New York. So I think it's a lovely move, man, to sign a guy like that. And then you piggyback on a prior move before that was signing Rick Porcello, who's a local guy as well. But of course, Porcello, he's a diehard Met fan. won the title with the Red Sox last year. So that was a guy, another guy was zeroing in on them to get, because obviously we all knew they weren't gonna sign Garrett Cole, who eventually signed with the Yankees, a move the Yankees had to do as well. So I like that move. And prior to that, the day before that, they signed Michael Wacha, which obviously he was a great pitcher with the Cardinals, especially 2013. And I like the move as a move that a guy you could see, a low risk, high reward type of move. But I didn't want him to be the only move at that time. So I was so when they signed him, especially after they let Wheeler go to the Phillies, it left a bad taste in my mouth. I always thought Michael Wacha was a very good pitcher. Obviously, he's not the same guy he used to be a few years ago. So you're taking a risk on him. So I was kind of, he was a phenomenal pitcher in the past, a guy worthy taking a shot at. But I did not want him to be the only guy, and you hand him the money. You know what I'm saying? So I think they signed him to a 1 year, $3 million, and then I think he can make up to $10 million in incentives. So then following time, I think last week, they signed Rick Porcello, 1 year, $10 million. Loved that move. That made the Wacha signing even better, because you got a more proven guy in Porcello, who, yes, he had a horrible year this year, but prior to that, he's always been phenomenal. A local guy who grew up a Mets fan, he's gonna wear his heart on his sleeve. Pitching for the Mets, his hometown team and the team he grew up rooting for. So, that's an improvement that the Mets had to make. Then they traded for Jake Marisnick, a phenomenal defensive guy. Doesn't really hit that much, but it reminds me of the Keon Broxton trade that they did last year. So, I mean, we'll see what we get in Jake Marisnick, So that's basically has been the Mets off season this far. But they still need to improve on the defense, Wilson Ramos, I mean, he was good with the Mets this year, but he's been a defensive liability, In a perfect world, you'd love to sign somebody like Maldonado, but he just recently signed to back up. But I think another move a sleeper move that they could do. Yes, he is. This person I mentioned, he is older than Ramos. A guy who they should look into if they're not gonna sign a young guy who can throw people out, like I think Castro. I think he's still available. But if they wanna go the veteran route, they should go after Russell Martin, to be a backup catcher. He got that leadership skills. He's been in the playoffs throughout his career. Former Dodger, former Pirate, Yankee, Blue Jay. The guy, he could, even if he's not the same guy he is with the bat, he could provide some leadership, off the bench. That might be a move that they should do. Unfortunately, JT Realmuto isn't out there. Cervelli, he just recently signed. There's no catcher that's gonna save them right now. So they got to be creative. But I think that's the move they need to they should do. They should sign like Will Smith. I know one more guy, to fix the pen. I think that's what they need to do. I would love to see them sign. I'd love to see them trade for Betts or Lindor. In a perfect world, if Steve Cohen was owning this team instead of the rumored 5 years from now, those are the two guys I'd love to get. But unfortunately, you got to give something to get something, and I'm not. And let me repeat, I am not willing to give up McNeil. There are some guys on this team that are untouchable. That's Alonso, of course, the reigning rookie of the year, who hit a record 53 3 home runs, Met record and a rookie record. So congratulations to him again. If you haven't check out the podcast, I gave my love and respect to Alonso doing stuff that no Met has ever done before. So props to him. And then of course you got Jacob deGrom winning back-to-back Cy Young awards. No Met has ever done that before. He's the second Met after Seaver to win more than one Cy Young award. So that's another guy, Jacob deGrom. To me, still the best pitcher in baseball. Back-to-back Cy Young award winner, untradeable. I would put Noah Syndergaard in that elk too, untradeable guy for me too. And then of course you got McNeil, you got Conforto. Those guys, man, you can't trade those guys. I mean, I want to keep Rosario too. Rosario made some huge strides this year, so I think they should keep him. And then unfortunately Nimmo, as much as I love Nimmo, Nimmo's out of the guys, those core guys. He's probably the only guy that I'm willing to give up. Dominic Smith too, I'd love to keep him, but the writing's on the wall. He's gonna be a bench guy. I'd love to keep him on the bench. His energy, his hitting ability, but to improve the team, those are the two guys who are definitely going to be on the trading block. And then now you have Cespedes, who's he's on the trading block. And he took a huge pay cut, which made this Dellin Betances signing possible. Went from $29 million to a reportedly $6 million contract, a restructured contract, which with incentives might make Cespedes' contract go back to $20 million. And Cespedes, when he's in Milwaukee, he's hungry. So I hope he's gonna be hungry. If they hold on to him this year or trade him to Blue Jays, as he's rumored to be traded to, among other teams, the Mets could make some noise this offseason. So I'd love to see them make some moves, to improve this offense, especially get some more leaders on this team to, shock the world, because the NL East is arguably the toughest division in the league, and all the teams in the NL East improved. So Mets got to get their act together. I love the moves that they made so far, but to me they haven't done enough to make them overtake the Phillies or the Nationals or the Braves in this division. They've made some stride. They're gonna need a lot of stuff going their way. The bullpen, Diaz and Familia has to bounce back. I mean, they can't be worse than they were this year. And then they need Dellin Betances to be healthy, and the other guys do what they're supposed to do. They can shock some people, but the offense, Cano has to turn back the clock to his Yankee days for the Mets to even overtake this division and, dare I say, even win the World Series. But they need a lot of stuff. They haven't done enough stuff for me for them to win the World Series, and that's what the end of the game is. If you ain't win the World Series, you're not. What are you playing for? So with that, let's hope the Mets can make some moves this offseason, and I'll let you know what I think. What they do in the future. So with that said, thank you for checking out this video. If you like this video, please like it, share it, comment on it, and feel free to hit that notification bell and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm William Ramo, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.